Hi, Terry here from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is this card. I've used the Let's Set Sail stamp set together with the Sailboat Builder Punch, and I've created a sunset card. Let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you're interested in reproducing it, take a screenshot so you can refer to it later. My front panel is in basic white card. Now, to hold all the pieces still while I ink blend on this panel, I'm using my stick and stamp mat. Now, this isn't a Stampin' Up product. It's a sticky mat from Brutus Monroe, and it'll hold everything without the need for magnets or masking tape. Obviously, if you haven't got this mat, you can just use masking tape to secure everything down. Now I'm placing my panel in the center of this mat, and it will just hold it in place for me. Then I'm going to create an horizon, and I'm just using some computer paper for this, and I'm setting it about halfway down. To create the shape for the sun, I'm using one of my simple masking templates. Now I've die cut a circle in the center of this. You can use any size circle that you want. I used a die from the Layering Circle die set, and I used the second size down. If you would like to see how I created these masking templates, then I'll leave a link at the top right of the screen under the eye to the video that shows you how. I'm going to position this over the horizon so it looks like the sun has either started to set or is starting to rise. So I'm placing the bottom of the circle below the horizon and then centering the rest above it. And then I'm giving it a good press down so it holds firmly. The ink pads I'm using for the sun are Daffodil Delight, Pumpkin Pie and Real Red, and these are the colours I tend to always use for my sunsets. I'll be applying the ink using blending brushes, and I've got a separate one for each of the different colours. I always start with the lightest colour first and then work to the darkest colour. So I'm starting with Daffodil Delight. Now my ink pads are a little bit dry, so I need to work them quite a bit to get some ink on the brush. But I've picked up the ink and I just took off the excess, and now I'm applying it lightly to the panel through the template. Now you want to build up the colour gradually, so you can stop when you're happy with the tone that you've got. And I'm applying most of the colour around the edges to leave the centre bit lighter. Now I'm changing to Pumpkin Pie, and again this will be around the edges mainly. I won't go to the centre at all. I want that to remain Daffodil Delight. So just build the colour up gradually until you're happy with how it looks. Once I'm happy with the Pumpkin Pie, I'll switch to the Real Red. And this will just go on the very edges to darken them. I also won't put any of this along the bottom edge in the centre. To finish off, I'll go back to the Daffodil Delight and I'll lightly apply this all over again. And this will just help give a nice smooth blend. I can now remove the masking template. I've finished with that now. but I'll leave my horizon in place. I'm going to ink blend the sky next, so I need to mask off the sun. Now I could use the little acetate circle that I die cut from my template, but because it's acetate, it's quite thick, and if I use this it would leave a white border all the way around my sun. Now you could get over that slightly by just pulling the acetate circle downwards just slightly, so the edges of the sun show, and that will stop some of the white at the top, but you would still get it towards the bottom side edges. Now what I prefer to use is proper masking sheet. I've already gone ahead and die cut a circle of this, and it's self-adhesive on the back, and it's reusable until all the adhesive stops sticking. It's also much thinner than the acetate, it's just like a tissue paper. Now I don't need to apply any adhesive because it's already got it on it. If I use the acetate circle, I would need some temporary adhesive. When placing this, I'm just pulling it down slightly from the top edge. The ink pads I'm using for the sky are Starry Sky and Night of Navy, and I'll be applying these using blending brushes again, and I've got one for each colour. I'm going to start with the lightest colour again, which is Starry Sky. Pick up the ink and just take off the excess onto some scrap paper, and then I can lightly apply it all around my sun. Now again, I'm building up the colour gradually so I can stop before it gets too dark. Once I'm happy with it, I'll switch to Night of Navy, and I'm just going to apply this around the edges. Again, I'm building up that colour gradually. I can now remove the sun mask and the horizon mask, and you can see my lovely sunset. I do have a tiny bit of white showing at the bottom of the sun, but that's fine. I'll be creating my sea next, so again I'm going to mask off at the horizon. I don't want to mess up my sunset scene. I'll be covering this with Starry Sky ink. I'm not worried about getting a smooth blend because most of it will be covered. I just want to add some colour for the background. I can now remove my mask and take my panel off of my stick and stamp mat. And this mat will just wipe clean. Here is the Let's Set Sail stamp set. Now I'm using all of the images I think today and this sentiment. I'm using the large background stamp in the set and Starry Sky ink to stamp all over the sea at the bottom of the panel, and this just gives the illusion of small waves. I'm also turning the stamp and moving it from one side to the other to get a different impression each time. For the remainder of the stamping, I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black, Early Espresso and Bermuda Bay ink. The main part of the boat will be in Early Espresso, and I'm stamping this onto a scrap of basic white. There are 2 sails and they will be stamped using Bermuda Bay. Now I stamped this second one a little close to the edge, so I stamped it again. Each of these images can be punched out using the sailboat builder punch. Now, if you can't fit and hold the card into the punch where you want it, if you add a post-it note to the back or the front to extend the reach, then you'll be able to punch it out. I'm going to use Memento Tuxedo black ink to stamp the birds onto the sunset. And then I'm using the same colour ink to stamp the sentiment onto a scrap of basic white. The sentiment will be cut out using one of the layering circle dies, and it's the 3rd size up. And then I've already created a Bermuda Bay mat to go underneath it, and I used the 3rd size up of the scallop circle dies in that set. I can now add the sails to the mast on the boat, and I'm doing this using wet glue, and I'm just adding a dot onto each of the points, and then I can place the sail into position. I've already added dimensionals onto the back of the Bermuda Bay scallop circle, and I'll now add them to the back of the sailboat. The sentiment has now been layered together, and I'm going to use Night of Navy ink to add the shadow beneath where I want to place the boat. So I'm just positioning my sentiment and my boat where I want them on my panel, and then I can work out where the shadow needs to go. Now this is very subtle. I'm using the Night of Navy ink, which is just slightly darker than the Starry Sky. It's not going to stand out a lot, but the recipient will be able to see it. The card base is in Night of Navy. This is half a standard sheet of card, scored in the middle and folded to create a portrait card. Then for inside the card I have a basic white mat, and I'm just going to decorate the bottom of it with a strip of Bermuda Bay, onto which I'm going to add a little strip of Night of Navy Designer Series paper. The design on this paper is retired, but we still have the neutral packs just with all new designs. The inked panel will be layered onto a mat of Bermuda Bay. And that's my card complete. Very simple, really. Here's another look at my original card. Now the contrast colour I used for this one was Sweet Sorbet. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.